Okay, children. So today, after a long time, I think the whole of May we didn't study anything, isn't it? So after a long time, we are going to study history today, and I am going to start with Through the Eyes of Travelers. Okay. So it's the second book. First, theme 5 in the second book. So please take that book. I hope you all are ready. So, why do people travel? See, from centuries onwards, from time immemorial, people were traveling from one place to another, isn't it? What is the reason behind that? See, some of the people travel because they are traders, they want to trade with other countries. Some are priests, they want to preach their religion to other people. Some are merchants, soldiers, and some travel just for the sake of traveling because they like to travel from one place to another. Okay, so we are going to study about 3 travelers, the travelogues of 3 travelers who came to India in different periods of time. So why are we studying about the travelogues of foreign travelers? Why can't we take the history written by Indians or by the local Indians? Because when they write about their own history, they take many things granted. See, for example, if I am teaching, if somebody asks me about Sarvodaya, what will I say? I will say that it's one of the best school in this in Kerala. We got very good infrastructure, we got very good teachers, we got very good students, etc., etc. But I will not describe anything which is, for example, in this class. Okay, see, I may not say that we got this much bench and desk, we got so many windows, we got fan, light, etc., etc., because it is a usual thing for me. But if a person who is not accustomed with a classroom, for example, a person coming from Africa, he may think all this unique. He may not have known about all these things in the classroom, so he will describe it in a very good manner. He will say that there are lots of benches and desks in our class, so many windows are there, fans are there, all these things he will describe, isn't it? See, that is the difference between a foreigner and a local if they describe a particular thing. So that is why we are taking the travelogues of foreigners. Okay, so in this class, I am going to teach you about 3 foreign travelers and their travelogues. Okay, which are these 3 travelers? Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta and Francois Bernier. Okay. So, Al-Biruni, he came from Khwarazm, that is present day Uzbekistan, in the 11th century. He travelled to India in the 11th century. Okay. And then Ibn Battuta, he came all the way from Morocco, that is in northwestern Africa, and he came to India in the 14th century. And Francois Bernier, he came from France in the 17th century. So all these 3 travelers came in different centuries, that you have to remember. And children, this is very important, this is 1 mark questions. This year for board exam, these things came, that is for 1 mark question. Okay, so Al-Biruni came from Khwarazm, the present day Uzbekistan, in 11th century. Ibn Battuta came from Morocco in northwestern Africa in the 14th century, and Francois Bernier, he came from France in the 17th century. So from that you can understand that we can know about the history of 11th, 14th and 17th century from the travelers and from their travelogues. Okay, so all these 3 travelers, their interested varied. Okay, so Al-Biruni wrote about the social situation in 11th century in India, about the religious practices, etc. Whereas Ibn Battuta, he was more interested in the cities of India. Okay, and Francois Bernier, he always compared India and European countries. So whatever they wrote are different. They wrote about different things. They wrote about different customs in India. So from all these things we can know about the local people, about the social customs, about the religious practices, about the Indian towns and cities, about the difference between Western countries and India. All these things we can understand from their accounts. Okay, so I'll repeat once again. Al-Biruni came from Khwarezm, that is Uzbekistan, in the 11th century. Ibn Battuta came from Morocco in the 14th century, and Francois Bernier came from France in 17th century. Okay, you are thorough with that, isn't it? Okay, now I'm going to talk about, at first I'll teach about Al-Biruni, then I'll go to Ibn Battuta and then to Francois Bernier. Okay, that is not the way it's written in the textbook, but I am going to stick on with one particular traveler. Okay, so at first we'll go to Al-Biruni and Kitabul Hind. What do you mean by Kitabul Hind? That was the book written by Al-Biruni. Okay, book of India. Now, as I told you earlier, Al-Biruni was born and brought up in Khwarezm, present-day Uzbekistan, until the age of 25. Okay, and he was born in 973. It's not 1973, it's 973 in Khwarezm, in present-day Uzbekistan. Okay, then Khwarezm was center of learning. See, this is Al-Biruni. Khwarezm was the center of learning, and he was very much interested in learning many languages. He knew Persian language, Arabic language, the language which was spoken in Khwarezm. All these languages he were very well versed on, and later on when he came to India he studied Sanskrit also. Okay, why did he study Sanskrit? So that he could write a book. Actually he wrote Kitabul Hind in Arabic language itself, but only if he studies Sanskrit he can understand people and the customs and religious practices in India, isn't it? So because of that he studied Sanskrit also, and he also studied and he was a very good mathematician, astronomist, whatnot. He was a very intelligent person and he liked to learn more things. Then at the age of 25, Sultan Mahmud of Ghaznawad, he attacked Khwarezm, and along with the riches he took back, that is Sultan Mahmud of Ghaznawad, he took many scholars from Khwarezm to his own country, that is Ghaznawad. Okay, and particularly to the capital of Ghaznawad, that is Ghazni. So when he took many scholars, he took Al-Biruni also, and Al-Biruni at the age of 25 he went to he was forced to go to Ghaznawad, but after reaching Ghaznawad he was very happy there, and until the age of 70, until he died at the age of 70, he stayed in Ghaznawad. And when this Sultan Mahmud invaded India, Al-Biruni came with Sultan Mahmud to India, and Al-Biruni he has already read lots of books translated to Arabic from Sanskrit, and he was really happy to come to India so that he could interact with the Brahmins as well as other scholars, so that he could know more about India. Okay, did you understand what I said this much? That is, at the age of 25, Sultan Mahmud of Ghaznavid, he invaded Khwarizm and took many scholars to his own country, Ghaznavid. So along with other scholars, Al-Biruni also came to India. Okay, and because he was very much interested in studying other languages, other riches in other countries, he also came to India with Sultan Muhammad when he came to invade India. Okay, and he stayed back. Around 44 years of age, he came to India. Okay, and this is Al-Biruni. See him? Can you see? So, when he came to India, he wrote Kitabul Hind, or the Book of India, which was one of the earliest encyclopedias about South Asia and its people. I told you he came to India in 11th century, isn't it? So it's one of the earliest encyclopedias about South Asia and its people. So in order to write, I told you earlier, he liked to learn lots of languages, isn't it? So in order to learn whatever is happening in India, he learned Sanskrit also. And the Brahmin scholars, you have studied in the previous classes about the rigidity of caste system in India, isn't it? In that critical analysis of Mahabharata and all, we have studied about that. So you know, and it's in 11th century, so it's more rigid at that time. But still, the Brahmin scholars or Brahmin priests, they respected Al-Biruni, even though he was a Muslim. They respected Al-Biruni, and they gave him the title Vidyasagar, or the Sea of Knowledge. They gave him the title Vidyasagar, or the Sea of Knowledge. All these are 1 mark questions. Children, please listen carefully. Okay, what was the title given to Al-Biruni by the Brahmin priest? Vidyasagar, or the Sea of Knowledge. Did you understand this much? Okay, shall I move on? Okay, now after coming to India, Al-Biruni spent years in the company of Brahmana priests and scholars, learning Sanskrit and studying religious and philosophical texts. While his itinerary is not clear, it is likely that he travelled widely in Punjab and parts of northern India. He didn't come to southern India. He always travelled in Punjab as well as in northern India. Okay. So, which place he travelled more? In northern India, and particularly Punjab. Okay. So, there he studied the language Sanskrit, and he began to write his memoirs. Okay. Now, the next heading is translating text and sharing ideas. So, I told you earlier that Al-Biruni knew lots of languages, isn't it? So, because of that knowledge and because he studied Sanskrit, he could compare literary texts and he could compare all these texts and translate whatever is written in India in Sanskrit language to his own language. Either it's in Persian language or in Arabic language or in his own language, that is the language they spoke in Khwarizm, or in all these languages he could translate the books written in Sanskrit in India. Okay, only because he studied Sanskrit. So he translated several Sanskrit works, including Patanjali's work on grammar, into Arabic. So mostly he translated these Sanskrit works to Arabic language. Okay, and the famous book he translated was Patanjali's work on grammar. And of course, for his Brahmin friends, what did he do? He translated the works of Euclid, a great mathematician, into Sanskrit. So he translated Sanskrit books into Arabic language, and he translated other books which was written in Persia and Arabic language to Sanskrit language, so that his Brahmin friends also could read it. Understand? What does this show? That is, he is very good in Sanskrit as well as in other languages. So he could translate books from Sanskrit to other languages and from other languages to Sanskrit. Okay. Now I am going to tell you about the book which he wrote about India, that is Kitab-ul-Hind. What is it? Kitab-ul-Hind. Okay. Kitab-ul-Hind was written in Arabic in simple, that book is simple and lucid, means it's a very simple book, and it's written in such a way that everyone could understand the content of this book. Okay, and this book got 80 chapters all in all, such as religion and philosophy, festivals, astronomy, alchemy, manners and customs, social life, weights and measures, iconography, laws and meteorology. So even though he has written 80 chapters, all different chapters related to different subjects like religion, philosophy, festivals, astronomy, like that. Okay, and I'll tell you one thing, that is, this book was written in a different way, not the way in which we are used to read. Okay, usually how do we read chapter 1? It will start with a story or something like that, isn't it? But not Kitab-ul-Hind. It's not like that. At first, he will start a chapter with a question. He will start a chapter with a question. Okay. Then he will try to answer that, the answer to that question, which is compared on the Sanskritic tradition. Okay. So at first, he will start with a question. Then he will try to answer that question after he compared what he thought it is with the Sanskritic tradition. Okay. Then as a conclusion, he will compare this Sanskritic tradition in India with the culture of other countries. Did you understand? See, he wrote his book in such a way that it is entirely different. Okay, every chapter will start with a question. For example, see, I'll take example of this classroom itself. Fan. We all know what fan is, but in 11th century it is not. It was not there, of course. But I am giving you an example. He will start the chapter like this. What is a fan? Okay, what is a fan? That is the question. Then he will give the description of the fan. Okay. Then as a conclusion, he will compare the fan in this class with the fan in other countries. Do you understand? He will start the chapter with a question. He will explain the answer in the Sanskritic tradition, and then as a conclusion, he will compare that particular topic with the culture of other countries. That is how he used to write his book. Okay, this is a 3-mark question. Okay. Then see, it was like a geometrical pattern. This was the way in which he wrote his book, was like a geometrical pattern. Every chapter starts with a question, comparison, description and comparison. Okay, so because of that, historians are of the opinion that it is because of his mathematical ability he could write his book like this. Understand? I told you earlier that he was very good in mathematics. So because of his mathematical ability, he wrote all his books like that. Did you understand? As I told you, it's a 3-mark question. Then he wrote his book in Arabic. Okay, Arabic language, so that the people in his own country could read all these books. Then he not only translated books written in Sanskrit, but he translated books in Pali and Prakrit. That means he not only studied Sanskrit, but he studied Pali as well as Prakrit. You know, Pali and Prakrit was the earlier languages spoken in India. Okay. So, from fables to astronomy to medicine, he translated books from Sanskrit and Pali and Prakrit to Arabic. Okay. But even though he translated all these things, he was also critical about the ways in which these texts were written and clearly wanted to improve on them. See, he was very much interested in these books, but he was critical also. Okay, he was critical about the way in which these texts were written. And when he wrote his own book, he tried to improve on them. Of course, it is like that, isn't it? Whenever we do a thing for the first time, it will be good, but when we try to do it the next time, it will be better. So, Al-Biruni also did like that. When he started, when he tried to translate the books from Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, etc. to his own language, he tried to better this because he was critical of that. Now, making sense of an alien world, Al-Biruni and the Sanskritic tradition. That is the next subtopic. Okay, what is it? Making sense of an alien world, Al-Biruni and the Sanskritic tradition. So, when he came to India, he found out about 3 barriers. He always talked about 3 barriers, which he found very difficult. What according to him, these 3 barriers were: the first one was language, the second religious beliefs and customs, and the third one self-absorption and consequent insularity. Of course, language. So, our language is entirely different from Arabic and Persian language, isn't it? So, he found our language very difficult, and he thought it particularly difficult. See, he liked to learn languages, but he thought it particularly difficult to study Sanskrit. So, the first barrier he encountered when he came to India was language, but he overcome that barrier. He studied Sanskrit in such a way that he could translate books from Sanskrit to his own language. Okay. So, the second barrier was religious beliefs and customs. Religious beliefs and customs. See, he came from Uzbekistan to India, where religious beliefs and customs, we have any number of religious beliefs and customs in India, isn't it? So, he found it very difficult to understand all these things. So many religious beliefs, so many customs in one state. At that time, there were no differentiation between states and all, but still every part have their own culture. So, for him it was another barrier to overcome. Religious beliefs, because it is entirely different from what he practiced in his own country. So, the second barrier was religious beliefs and customs. So, in order to write his memoirs, his travelogues, his books, he need to understand the religious beliefs and customs, isn't it? For that, he asked his Brahmana friends to translate all these religious beliefs and customs to him. So, because of that I will tell you, I explain it to you later, but because of that, his way of looking at our religious beliefs and customs were entirely different. Okay. Now, the third barrier was self-absorption and consequent insularity. What does that mean, self-absorption and consequent insularity? See, I told you that at that time India was one of the richest country in the world, if not the richest country in the world. Okay, so we were so self-contained in our life. Indians never wanted anyone else to come to our country. They never went outside India because they were self-sufficient. They were happy in their own life, and they did not want any other persons to come and enter into their own world. Okay, they never allowed that. So, Al-Biruni, being a foreigner, found it very difficult to interact with the Indians not because of the language, because he had overcome that barrier. He studied language, he studied Prakrit, he studied Pali, but it was very difficult for him to interact with the people because they did not want to interact with Al-Biruni. Okay. This was not liked by Al-Biruni because it was very difficult for him to understand all the religious customs and beliefs of the people if they don't allow him amidst their midst. Okay. So these were the three barriers encountered by Al-Biruni when he came to India. What was the first one? Language. Second one, religious beliefs and customs. And the third one, self-absorption and consequent insularity. Did you understand that? 3-mark question. Okay. Language, religious beliefs and customs, self-absorption and consequent insularity. So, as I told you, the barriers to understanding, okay, is because of the language problem, religious beliefs, etc. It was very difficult for them to understand all these things. But what is interesting is that even though he was aware of these problems, Al-Biruni depended almost exclusively on the works of Brahmanas, often citing passages from the Vedas, the Puranas, the Bhagavad Gita, the works of Patanjali, the Manusmriti, etc. to provide an understanding of Indian society. Did you understand? See, in spite of all these problems, he depended exclusively on the works of Brahmins, often citing passages from the Vedas, Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, the works of Patanjali, the Manusmriti, etc. to provide an understanding of Indian society. Okay, now the next topic is Al-Biruni's description of the caste system, but then I'll take that in the next class. Okay.